All right, let's dive into this one. We're going deep with Wayne Dyer's The Power of Intention. Not just setting goals, but tapping into something bigger. A universal force. You guys sent this one in. I'm excited to dig in with our expert.
You hit it right on the head. It's not your typical goal-setting book.
Yeah.
Dyer really goes beyond, redefines intention. It's not just willpower. It's like this energy, like a force woven into everything.
So less about wishing and more about, aligning with something much bigger.
Exactly, yeah. And one way he says to do this is through what he calls the 7 faces of intention. It's like different aspects of that force, lenses we can use to focus our intention almost.
Okay, this is already getting good. Lay it on me. What are these faces?
He lists creativity, kindness, love, beauty, and then expansion, unlimited abundance, and receptivity. Each one is like a quality and energy we can work on to get in sync with that power of intention.
Okay, that's a lot. I mean, where do you even begin if you're trying to work on all those at once?
Yeah, you don't have to be a master of all 7 at the same time. For this deep dive, let's zero in on 2 that are really powerful, often work together: unlimited abundance and receptivity.
Oh, yeah. Those jump out, especially for our listeners, always learning and growing. Why are those 2 so important?
Dyer says the universe, it's a place of infinite abundance, scarcity. He says that's just a belief we hold on to, not how things actually are. It's like looking at the ocean and only seeing a few drops. You're missing the vastness.
So we got to shift our focus from what we don't have to, like the enormity of what's out there.
Right. We limit ourselves with that scarcity mindset, like we're clinging to it. We need receptivity to open ourselves to receive, trusting that there's enough and we're worthy of it.
Okay, that makes sense, but how do you actually do that? Be more receptive sounds great, but how do you really open yourself up?
Dyer talks about gratitude. Instead of what's missing, appreciate what you've got. That shifts your energy, makes you a magnet for good things.
I can see how that would work. But what about those rough patches? It's tough to feel abundant when you're facing setbacks, Didn't Dyer tell a story? A woman who turned her business around? What was the lesson there?
He did, yeah. This woman, she was about to go bankrupt, felt totally overwhelmed, trapped in that scarcity. But she changed things with a simple shift. She stopped dwelling on the problems and started being grateful for what was working.
So instead of focusing on debt, she focused on, say, a loyal customer or a successful product launch.
Exactly. And that shift, it opened her up. New ideas, the right connections. Her business not only survived, it thrived. Dyer uses this story to show that abundance isn't what you have, but how you see it.
Wow, that's powerful how a change in thinking can make such a difference. What about you? Have you ever experienced that kind of shift yourself?
I have, back when I was working on my PhD. I hit this wall, I was drowning in research, felt totally lost and uninspired, like my creativity just vanished.
Oof, yeah, that's rough. I've been there, totally stuck on a project.
What got you back on track? I remembered what Dyer said about source energy, this idea of a universal energy field, pure potential. You tap into it and things just flow.
Okay, source energy a little out there, but I'm listening. How did you actually connect with it?
Nothing fancy, actually. It was about getting out of my head, back to the heart of my research. Starting each day with gratitude, appreciating the chance to learn to contribute.
So less pressure on the outcome, more about the joy of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the ideas came back. The research that felt overwhelming became fascinating. It was like finding a hidden wellspring of inspiration.
It's amazing how a shift in perspective can change everything. But Dyer also talks about ego, right? Like it's a big roadblock to intention. How does he see the ego?
He sees it as the part of us that thrives on fear separation. The voice that says you're not good enough, that you need to constantly strive, compete.
Oh yeah, that inner critic. I know that voice.
Yeah.
Does Dyer say get rid of it completely?
Not really. He says ego is just an idea of who you are that you carry around with you. It's more about being aware of it, not letting it control us.
So recognizing when it's running the show and choosing a different perspective.
Exactly. When we're all ego, we focus on lack, comparison, competition. The world feels like a scarce place. We're always fighting for our share.
And that goes against Dyer's whole idea of abundance and receptivity.
Right. Ego wants us small and safe source energy. It's about expansion possibility.
Got it. So how do we quiet that ego voice and tap into that higher energy? Any practical tips from Dyer?
Mindfulness is key, he says. Become the observer of your thoughts, feelings. Notice when you're falling into those ego traps without judgment.
Creating space between our thoughts and reactions.
Yeah, exactly. Mindfulness gives us that choice. We respond instead of reacting automatically.
What are some red flags and signs that the ego's in charge?
That feeling of constantly striving, never being good enough, comparing yourself to others, envy, resentment, all those point to the ego running things.
So relatable. I think we've all been there.
Mhm.
What do we do if we see those red flags? How do we shift gears?
Dyer suggests affirmations visualization tools to focus energy on the qualities we want: abundance, gratitude, love.
Those are pretty common self-help tools. What's different about Dyer's approach?
It's deeper than just saying positive phrases or picturing our goals. It's about the essence of what we want. Visualize feeling financially secure, abundant, not just a specific amount of money.
Feeling it, not just the outcome.
Right, feeling is energy. Energy attracts what we want. He says, when you're connected to the power of intention, everything seems to flow effortlessly. It's about aligning with the universe, not forcing it.
I love that quote. But it's hard to stay in that flow when life gets messy.
Yeah.
What about those times when we feel stuck, discouraged? What does Dyer say?
He always comes back to gratitude. No matter what, there's something to be grateful for. Even in tough times, appreciate the lessons, the strength we gain.
Gratitude like an anchor to bring us back to abundance even when things are hard.
Exactly. Realigning with source energy, remembering that we are supported even when we can't see the path forward.
It's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Speaking of support, what practices help you feel most aligned and in flow?
For me, it's spending time in nature, being around trees, fresh air. It just quiets my mind, helps me connect to something bigger, like a reset button.
I get that. Nature's so grounding. It reminds us we're part of something huge, right? Like Dyer's idea of source energy.
Totally. Stepping outside our limited view. So bringing it back to our listeners, what are the big takeaways from Dyer's The Power of Intention? We covered a lot. What do you hope people remember?
Yeah, it's been a deep dive. What are the key points?
First, intention is powerful, not just wishful thinking, but an energy we can use to shape our reality.
And not about controlling everything, but aligning with the universe, like Dyer says.
Exactly. Second, our ego, it often blocks us from reaching our intentions. It keeps us in fear, scarcity, that feeling of separation.
That inner critic, yeah.
Yeah.
But we can choose not to listen to it. What was that Dyer quote about the ego again?
He said, ego is just an idea of who you are that you carry around with you. And that idea, it holds us back, but we can choose a different perspective.
Aligning with our best selves, with that source energy that connects us all. What are some ways to actually do that? Dyer talks about a lot of tools and techniques. What really stands out?
Gratitude. It's simple, but practicing it consistently, it changes things. Shifts our energy from lack to abundance. Opens us up to receive good things.
Retraining our brains to see abundance instead of scarcity. What else does Dyer recommend?
Letting go. Letting go of limiting beliefs, negative emotions, even attachment to specific outcomes. It makes room for new possibilities.
Letting go can be hard, especially when we're focused on a certain outcome. Any advice for someone struggling with that?
Dyer gives this exercise. Imagine you're holding sand. Hold it tight and it slips through your fingers. But open your hand, relax your grip, you can hold more. It's like that with letting go. It actually helps us reach what we want.
That's such a good analogy. So intention is a force, ego blocks it, and things like gratitude and letting go help us break through those blocks. What does that mean for our listeners? Why should they care?
It all comes down to empowerment. Dyer's saying we're not just along for the ride, we create our reality, we choose our thoughts, cultivate good feelings, align with a force that supports our best intentions.
That's inspiring. Right up the alley of our learner persona. Always seeking growth, new knowledge.
Absolutely. This deep dive, it's just a taste of Dyer's work. Hopefully it sparks some curiosity to learn more.
So, to the listener who sent in The Power of Intention, hope this deep dive was helpful. If scarcity is an illusion, like Dyer says, what can you do when you embrace unlimited abundance? What would you intend if you knew you couldn't fail? Think about those questions as you keep learning and growing.
And remember, the power to create the life you want is within you. Dyer's work is a guide, but you're in the driver's seat.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into intention. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep creating the life you dream of.